Hey, Jonathan here. Thank you for joining me as we are looking for Bible answers to some of the most common questions that we find in Catholic belief and practice. We're looking at two books. We're looking at the Catechism of the Catholic Church. That's the official teaching of the Catholic Church. We're quoting it directly, and we're also looking at the Bible. We're looking for answers. In fact, you can take this whole study. This is just one part of it. You can download it for free as an ebook at trustworthyword.com/Catholic. Here's a question to consider. Can marriages be annulled, declared void, declared that they never existed? What about remarriage? Here's what the Catholic Catechism says. It says the Church, after an examination of the situation by the competent ecclesiastical tribunal, can declare the nullity of a marriage, that the marriage never existed. In this case, the contracting parties are free to marry, provided the natural obligations of a previous union are discharged. A case of marriage with a disparity of cult, that means between a Catholic and a non-baptized person, requires even greater circumspection. The remarriage of persons divorced from a living lawful spouse contravenes the plan of and law of God as taught by Christ. They are not separated from the church, but they cannot receive Eucharistic communion. And here's an encouragement to divorce your wife if they do not obey you. This is from the book of Sirach. If you're not familiar with it, that's one of the books in the Catholic Bible that's not found in the Protestant Bible. Here's what Sirach, chapter 25, verses 35 to 36 says. It says, if she walk, it's talking about a wife, if she walk not at thy hand. What is it saying? If your wife is not listening to, not following, not obeying the husband, if she walk not at thy hand, she will confound thee in the sight of thy enemies. What is that saying? It's saying she'll embarrass you publicly. So what should you do about it? Cut her off from thy flesh. It's referring to the one flesh union of marriage. Divorce her, lest she always abuse you. Sirach chapter 25. Well, what does the Bible say? What does the Bible say about marriage? It says, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife. The two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What God has joined together, let not man separate. Romans 7, 2-3 says, for a married woman is bound by law to her husband while he lives. But if her husband dies, she's released from the law of marriage. Accordingly, she will be called an adulteress if she lives with another man while her husband is alive. But if her husband dies, she is free from that law. And if she marries another man, she is not an adulteress. 1 Corinthians 7:39. A wife is bound to her husband as long as he lives. But if her husband dies, she is free to be married to whom she wishes, only in the Lord. That means only a believer. So here's some questions. Is the idea of annulment, the concept that is described in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, that a marriage never existed, is that a biblical concept? Where do we find that concept in the Bible? And how does that differ with Romans 7:2 and 1 Corinthians 7:39? It says only death ends a marriage. It doesn't say a church can end a marriage. It says only death ends a marriage. Does the Bible ever distinguish between marriages inside and outside the church? And is it right to provide an avenue to allow marriages to non-believers when the Bible clearly prohibits marrying a non-believer? Why would Sirach 25 encourage divorce in such a sweeping, overarching manner? Well, does the Bible encourage it, or does it permit it on rare occasions? 1 Corinthians 7, right in the middle, gives few rare occasions where divorce is permitted. But this is very different. It's broad and it's sweeping. And what about withholding Eucharistic communion from a divorced person? Is that not, according to the doctrine of the Catholic Church about Eucharist celebration, is that not withholding forgiveness? We have a whole other study on the Eucharist, both for the living and for the dead in this study. And here's some other resources to consider. This is a touchy issue. This is a tough issue. This is an issue that's affected us all. We all have family members and friends who have been affected by divorce and remarriage. Let me just encourage you, go to this website and look for Bible answers and consider what God says about it and listen to his voice rather than the voice of man. Listen, these are tough and touchy questions, but they are important. And I hope you'll continue to go into the Bible for answers to these questions, that we might discover what he says about some important questions in life. Thank you for joining me. If this video has been helpful to you, I hope you'll like or comment or share with your friends and family. Maybe go deeper into a Bible study by going to trustworthyword.com/Catholic and downloading some free resources for yourself.